For the longest time, we all kind of felt like creativity was our thing, right? The one human trait that was totally safe from machines. We knew they could be faster, more logical, but creative? Nah, that was ours. And that feeling, that gut belief that our messy, emotional, uniquely human originality was safe from algorithms, well, a lot of us held on to that. But that belief is now facing a massive challenge. And not from some flashy demo, but from a huge objective study that put humans and AI through the exact same creative tests. And the results? Hoo boy, they might just change how you think about creativity forever. So let's get into it. So the first big hurdle here was getting past opinions, right? Instead of just asking, hey, does this feel creative? The researchers had to figure out a way to actually measure a core piece of creativity itself, objectively. And they landed on this concept called divergent association. Now, what is that? It's not about finding opposites, like hot and cold. It's about the cognitive leap your brain makes between two totally unrelated ideas. Think of it as the engine of brainstorming, the power to jump from, say, spider to galaxy, instead of just walking down the obvious path to web. Okay, so how do you even test for that? Well, the task itself sounds almost childishly simple. You just name a handful of words, and the only rule is they have to be as different from each other as possible. But the magic is what's happening behind the scenes. A system analyzes the conceptual distance between your words by looking at how they're used across tons of text. The farther apart your words are, the higher your score for divergent thinking, a crucial ingredient for raw, early-stage creativity. All right, so they got a baseline from over 100,000 people. Then, they gave the exact same test to a bunch of large language models. And this is where things got a little weird. And honestly, a little uncomfortable. Look at this. The AI didn't just meet the human average. Several of these models blew right past it. One of them beat the average human score by a margin that is statistically impossible to ignore. That's the moment it happened. AI officially became better than the average person at this key part of creative thinking. So that's the headline, right? We have to kind of sit with that for a second. Modern AI now outperforms the average human at divergent thinking. But, and trust me, this is a massive but, that is not the end of the story. It's not even close. Because as soon as the researchers shifted their focus, as soon as they stopped comparing AI to everybody and started pitting it against the most creative humans, the whole narrative just flips on its head. The whole idea of an AI takeover just falls apart. Just look at this table, it lays it all out. If you take just the top half of the human performers, their average score already beat every single AI model. Now look at the top 25%. That gap gets way bigger. In the top 10%, forget about it. It wasn't even a fair fight. The AI just couldn't keep up. And that right there is the real takeaway. Yeah, AI might have crossed the floor of average human creativity, but it hits a hard, unreachable ceiling when it comes up against the best of us. The most creative people are just operating on a completely different level that AI can't seem to touch. Okay, so why? Why does the ceiling exist? What are those top-tier creators doing that AI just can't? Well, it boils down to a fundamental difference in how they work. It's really a story of exploration versus judgment. On one hand, you have AI. It's an incredible explorer. I mean, it doesn't have our baggage, right? No personal history, no biases, no mental ruts. It can just wander through the entire landscape of language and pull out all sorts of novel connections. But then you have us, the humans, and we have the one thing AI is completely missing: judgment. We have that gut feeling. We know what matters. We can tell the difference between a genius idea and just random noise. This quote really nails it. AI is just following instructions. It's exploring because we told it to, not because it has any clue when to stop exploring and start picking the good stuff. It's a fire hose of ideas with no one aiming it. It can generate, but it can't curate. And this is where the research gets really interesting, with a twist I honestly did not see coming. It turns out when we try to make AI better, we might actually be making it less creative. Yeah, it sounds weird, right? But think about it. As developers make these models safer, more efficient, more reliable for business, what they're really doing is making them more predictable. And that process, well, it squeezes out the weird, random, risk-taking behavior that scores high on these creativity tests. So a better AI can actually be a worse brainstormer. And then you have us. Human creativity is the polar opposite of efficient. It's messy, we waste time, we chase weird obsessions, we go down total dead ends, and this study suggests that this bug in our system, our inefficiency, is actually a feature. It's what allows for true, groundbreaking originality. Okay, so let's put this all together. What's the verdict? What's this mean for anyone who does creative work for a living? This isn't a story about AI taking over. It's a story about the rules of the game changing completely. What we're really witnessing here is something called a compression of the middle. Basically, the gap between kinda bad and pretty good creative work is vanishing. All those tasks that used to require a person with some baseline creativity, drafting emails, brainstorming slogans, creating variations, AI can do that stuff now, easily. And that totally reshapes the creative landscape. What does that mean? It means raw idea generation, that's about to become super cheap and super abundant. So what becomes rare? What becomes valuable? It's human direction. It's taste. It's judgment. The new killer skill isn't about generating ideas anymore. It's about curating them. The machine owns speed and scale now. It can spit out 1,000,000 ideas in the time it takes us to have one. But the intention, the meaning, the wisdom to pick the one idea that will actually connect with people, that's still ours. As the study puts it, the ceiling of creativity still belongs to people who can move through ideas with intention rather than just speed. So this leaves us with a really powerful question. It's not about, can you come up with a good idea anymore? The new question, in a world where a machine can give you infinite ideas, is what will you choose to create? Of all the things that could be made, what's actually